This is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching, starting a new quilt today based on ideas from people that have left comments. Today is hand stitching a reduced Crossroads block and then making a quilt, and I call it Hugs and Kisses. And some of you may have remembered it because it was on the round quilting rack that I use all the time. And this was earlier, and the pattern is from the American Patchwork magazine, 2008 August. This is a fun pattern. I've actually made it twice because I like to make multicolored quilts and hand stitch those, and this is a really fun one to do. We're going to have two main blocks. We're going to have 2.5-inch squares, and I have a bucket. This is what I have left yet from when I'm doing it. When I first started sewing, I would take, and when I had a piece left, I'd just throw it in the basket, and I'd just leave it there till I needed it later. And then through time, when I had pieces left that were smaller, I'd go ahead and I'd cut either a 2.5-inch block or a 2-inch block. I'd cut those 1-inch strips. So when I got ready to do this one to share with you again, I already had a whole bunch that I could start with. Now, that didn't mean that I didn't get bored with those and pick up some new material and put it in there, because I did. I added to it. But that's going to be one thing, is the 2.5-inch square. And then the next thing is a 3.5-inch square. And it's going to be the Crossroads part. So you either want to be cream or white, or, pick a color that goes with what you're doing, because that's going to be the road part. And I've just got a little stack here I'll put together. Okay. When you get ready to start to do this part, this is what's so fun. When you looked at the pattern, you may have seen a 16 patch in the center. And I thought, I don't want to sit down and make a 16 patch. Well, this eliminates some of that. You still do it, but you just do it in a different way. So we start with our 3.5-inch square, and you're going to take one of your 2.5-inch square, your 2-inch squares, and you're going to draw a diagonal line from point to point. And then you're going to lay it up in the top left-hand corner. Now, positioning these is going to be important for later, because we're only going to do one up here and then one opposite of that. And so I wanted to go back and just talk about going through that. And I'm going to use black thread, which you probably don't want to. And I'm also using 2 strands so it'll show up better. If your thread is strong enough, and you're pleased with the way it works, then just use that one. And this one, there's no dot to dot. You just start at the very end. I must have that bumpy black that I had before. And then go down, and we're going to make stitches all the way across. And it's just like we've done before. Once you get started, especially if you're just starting to quilt, you want to take and turn it over and make sure you're catching it. And these look pretty big, but I always tell you I'm doing this through the camera, so you get you get what you get. And then go down, and you can do 1 or 2 stitches at a time, and it depends on how sharp your needle is. A good needle is good for this, but we're going to go all the way across. And you're going to do this square a bunch of times. I'll tell you how many after a while, or I'll put it in the description if I forget. All right, and when you get to the end, just take and go back into the last stitch once or twice to hold it. All right, then I'm going to take my scissors. There goes my thread. Check my back. That's going to stay together pretty good. All right, now what you're going to do is you're going to remove that top corner. Instead of using a whole lot of little bitty triangles, this is really nice, because when I started out, everything I had was little triangles. I'm going to take and cut that off. And you can do it 1/4 of an inch or a little less. And then this will fold up, and that's going to make one of your corners. Now, almost everywhere on here, I did open up the seams, but you don't have to. But you can turn that one, and then you can turn it back towards the color or open it. All right, and then what you would do is you'd take your second one, and I've already got it marked. Let's see, where this one might be hard to see. It is. I use mechanical pencil works really. There it is. Mechanical pencil works really well. Now remember, you're going to do it on the opposite corner. So pin it in place, line up your everything there in the corner, and then start and stitch down. And when you get done with that, then you take and you cut it off, and then you fold it back, and you've got a nice piece with the two corners on there. And that's what I'm saying. This is a fun thing to do because you can take it with you and do it if you want to, because you've got plenty of pieces that you're going to work on. So that takes care of that one piece that we needed for a block. Okay, the next part we're going to do is going to make a square. And what we're going to do, and we've done this before to a smaller extent in another video, and we take two of the 2-inch squares, and we're going to put them face to face, right sides together. And again, and we've, like I said, we've done this before. We're going to take our needle, get them lined up good, because that's the more precise you are with these pieces, lots of things will come together better. But then, just like we did on that straight piece, we're going to start over here on one side, 1/4 of an inch, and you're going to start. I got a nice little needle that time, and nice and sharp, and then poke it in there. And you might have remembered this. A lot of people have seen this one. And we're going to go across. Now this material's real pliable, and the needle's really sharp, so you can see I can work on across there. And then look. And then I can turn it over and look, and I can see my stitches. But again, I wouldn't. You can use dark on this if you wanted to, but it's not going to show up very much. You'd go all the way to the end and then back stitch. All right, and you do those in pairs. So I just sat down and picked pairs and at random. And at first, and then after a little later, I started picking them in particular to go together. But I had a whole stash of these sitting on the table. And then I went and pressed them open because I like for those to be open. So right here, I have several sets, and you can take them all at once and go to a table and sit down and put them together any way you want to. And what's funny is it doesn't matter, because there's going to be so many colors in here, and they're going to be against so many other things. Now this would not be my preferred one, but let's just pretend that's the one I chose. And I'm going to take and fold those together. Now this is one where I like to open the seam. And I'm going to fold it like this because guess what? I noticed that I had too much material on that edge, so I don't want to throw off my shape. So I've laid that on there, and I think I've got it where I want it. I'm going to do the one where we put the pin in and put it at an angle so those will stay together. And then just start over here at the end, knot up, and then go all the way across at about 1/4 of an inch. As long as you do the same amount, close to the 1/4 of an inch, you have a good chance of things coming together. All right, so let's say we did a whole bunch of 2s, and then we put a whole bunch of 2s together, and that made a 4 patch. And now I'm sitting here with a bunch of these. Now look at these, how funny they are. The colors, and I even have some of those fussy cuts in there. And most of the time when you do the solids, do that on the white instead of in here. I'm not sure how that's going to turn out. There I happen to do a fussy cut. And then there are some more. And so that makes your 4 square. All right. Then the magic starts to happen. All right. Now, if you look at this, you'll see why our position was so important. And I just laid these out on the table and moved them around until I found out which ones I liked together. So I take a 4 patch and I match it to the bottom. All right, now watch. This is gonna be important. Or really, I think I went across. I take this one, and it just happened to be a red one, and I laid those two face to face, and then made a seam down through the center there. Then I took the bottom one, and I took another one of the others, laid it on there, and seamed it. And this is the only seam that I really liked to fold one way or the other. So one of the seams would go one way, like to the right, and then this seam would go to the left, so that when I lay the two pieces next to each other, on top of each other, they lock in place. And then I sewed. Once I got that done, then I sewed the two sections together to make the square. And then I did open this seam because it seemed like it was heavy. And it's amazing when you use your colors what kind of things you get. Like, look at this. This was not, you can tell, planned. And the thing is that you just watch that you're getting close on these triangles, touching these squares. And there are so many in this that if you're off a little bit like this one is, I didn't go take it out and fix it. I said, I'm not going to do that. There are so many of those. And it's really an old looking pattern. And this was based on an old pattern that was a bigger, all right, this Crossroads. And that gives you an idea how your squares are. The next video that I do, since this one's already this far along, if you get anywhere in that area, then what you're going to do is you save up your blocks. That's what you want to do. You're not going to be sewing these together yet. And for the one that I'm doing, it's a lap quilt. It took 48 of these sets. So this is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching. I hope you're ready for a new good project that's a lot of fun to sew. And it's really fun to see the end result. You can pick all your colors that you want that go together if you have a set. Or you can just take and pick all these colors and then watch what happens when you put them together. Any of the notes about sizes of pieces and sewing things together, I'll write in the description. If you enjoyed this or think you're going to try it or have comments, please subscribe and hit like. Thank you.